Awesome. Let me just check that we're live.
Yep, I just got a notification. TM.
Cool. Okay, great. Well, thank you all for joining for our second Zerion Live. I was thinking we could do a quick round of intros. So I'm Jules. I've been leading marketing here at Zerion, and maybe then Abby can give a quick intro, and then we can get started with some questions.
Thanks, Jules. Excited for this one. Should be a fun session. Hey, folks. My name's Abby. I lead product at Zerion. And yeah, we'll probably unpack a lot of what we do and how we're working together with MoonPay, Polymarket, Solana, and a bunch of other great partners here. Let's go to Halsey. Hey, I see you got your photo back up. Nice. Hal, you want to take it? Else we can move to, let's do Tony, and then we'll come back to Halsey.
How about now? Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the patience. Yeah, Tony leading all go-to-market for agent products here at MoonPay.
Guess I can lead in there. Hey guys, Halsey Huth, head of ecosystem partnerships for MoonPay. Get to work very closely with almost everyone here on this panel.
Welcome.
Maybe Rishan or...
Sure. Yeah, I can go ahead. It's great to meet you all. My name is Rishan, and I head up AI over at the Solana Foundation.
Cool. And Sohail, I don't think you need an intro, but would still love one.
All right. Hey, everyone. I'm Sohail, and I work on developer relations and integrations here at Polymarket. But yeah, really excited for the stream.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. So maybe we can start with Sohail, if that's okay with you. Wanted to better understand. I know you guys launched Polymarket CLI back in Feb, and we're doing stuff together with our new CLI launch that we just promoted today. And Dawn is integrating. Wanted to understand better if agents are actually moving any real volume yet, from your perspective.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, we released our CLI back around February, and we had like a bunch of interest, like around millions of impressions across Twitter and GitHub, and thousands of installs from the users and even agents, and kind of became the default way for developers or even agents to touch Polymarket from a terminal. As for the moving of the volume, it's really interesting because it really depends on how you count as real. I mean, if you mean like autonomous, like fully agentic system opening and closing accounts with no humans at all, it is right now happening, but we are still early. There's a small slice of volume today, but let's say if you zoom out to agent assisted, where humans using LLMs and these agents to scan the market, generate thesis, and then execute it via CLI or even SDKs, then there's a lot of activity and it's just growing weekly. And yeah, I mean, CLI was just the sort of it. Next up is our SDKs, the skills, and all of them give these agents programmatic access. Like you mentioned it, with other CLIs like the Zerions or MoonPay and others plugged into it, it kind of brings it and a ton of other use cases. For example, when an agent wants to on-ramp using their card or something and then handle the transaction and all. I think the answer would largely change in the 6 months because we are seeing a really big chunk in adaptation. But yeah, at the moment, we are early for like fully agentic, but there's a ton of agent assisted interaction going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I was just gonna jump in as well and say, since you called out MoonPay, like curious maybe from Tony or Halsey, like you guys are hitting a lot of traction. Almost seems like that's a big focus for the company this year. Like, would you want to chime in here?
Yeah. So we recently launched our MoonPay Agents desktop. But I think the CLI is like the starting layer here, where a lot of developers or like prosumers are getting really involved in doing various things. I think like number one is on ramping onto their agents, giving them stable coins, giving them crypto. Number two is researching. I think like the research takes different forms, like very much the tokens, the xStocks, and then the third one that we're seeing is prediction markets. And then the third piece that we're seeing a lot of people use is executing trades. These trades are really like in two buckets. Number one are regular tokens, and then number two are prediction markets. And we're seeing a lot of steam within prediction markets, specifically with Polymarket, which has been really exciting. I think where we're now flipping our focus, not so much saying the CLI is dead or the CLI isn't a focus. I think saying like, hey, there is a ton of high intent users who use agents day to day and want a friendlier interface is this desktop. And the prime differentiator here are going to be our recipes, our artifacts, and our recipe and our automations. Where like a user can, in natural language, create a recipe or a workflow that can execute for them every day, every couple minutes, every month. And for us, it's really about, hey, how do we get like really, really cool skills, really useful skills embedded within our CLI or within the app, and then allow users to make their own automations. And I feel like that's going to be a big piece of where consumer-facing agentic products are going to go.
I also wanted to ask, has anyone ever, or what was the last thing that you gave your agent money for? And what bet are you willing to risk?
So let me turn this down, sorry. Yeah, I think like we've been seeing people start to use the Solana Pay plugin with MoonPay Commerce, where people are actually spending on Shopify stores. We saw a good amount of demand for this like Pudgy Penguin store. People were buying Pudgy Penguins merch, Pudgy Penguins flag. And me personally, I deploy maybe like $50 every single day, trading xStocks, trading tokens. So I'm pretty comfortable giving my agent money. A lot of people aren't, but it's more of a fact of like, I'm willing to give my agent money that I'm okay with losing. And I think that's a good approach to take.
I mean, we definitely see like a clear change in behavior from before we had the open wallet standard and after, right? Because we had launched the CLI product before OWS was live. But when we look at kind of that addition back into the MoonPay CLI product, like night and day difference of how much money people were looking to move through their agents. So I think once you actually give people infrastructure that they can trust, you actually start to see some real usage. It's definitely not a wave of people that are moving all of their money over to the agent side. But just going through MoonPay's like retail products, like we had some serious whales going through where you could tell that like all of their kind of Polymarket call sheet trading activity quickly moved over into their agent setup.
100%. I feel like, Tony, you're probably one of the more advanced users, right? Like, so it's kind of nice to see across the spectrum. I think the goal of something like OWS essentially is like the guardrails and policies helping becoming the default. So it helps kind of everybody move towards kind of like the use cases, Tony, that you would be doing now comfortably without the risk, right? Like me, myself, like I've been playing around with like Agent Cash. I'm looking for a new apartment here in New York. So I'm like, I just run a cron job that scrapes, uses a bunch of web search APIs, has a ton of other data that I would normally like find it harder to like sign up individually for. So I feel like I just shared this to a couple of friends and their minds were blown that you could do this without, going on Street Easy or Zillow or whatever to find your apartments. I feel like the normal use case, I guess to answer your question, Jules, that's something that I did where it's like 2 cents, 3 cents every time I just like run a report. And it's been super easy. And I never on ramped because they just give you like a bunch of money to start with. So I feel like that's another thing that I see a lot of agentic products starting to do, just helping it, make it a lot easier for anyone to onboard and try it out for the first time. Yeah, I'm curious to hear from Rish. Maybe if you had some interesting use cases here as well.
Yeah, I mean, like personally, I feel like pay per use is like actually a really good flow. Similar stuff. Like I personally don't do any prediction markets or trading with agents. I think like I don't know. I'd be curious what Tony's perspective is, but like to actually generate alpha and strategies is maybe like possible in smaller clips, like if you're doing $50 a day or something like that. It's an interesting area to kind of experiment with. Like I think you can use AI for like creating theses generations and stuff like that. But actually, I think like most people actually don't care about trading. They just like want very simple ways to use products. And natively being able to just like pay for something in like terminal in a CLI or like to a like any user like in like a like Claude OS or ChatGPT OS app is really good. As Abhi mentioned, there's like a bunch of these services that now like abstract this pretty well. Agent Cash, like Lobster Cash, which Crossmint released. We launched a CLI called PaySH. Base has something called agentic market. And like right now it's like, how do you extend kind of like how many different applications and use cases like that you can ultimately use? Like when we were testing for pay.sh, like the use case that people like really loved was like commerce use cases, like physical goods and services is really like a fun one. And just like to share an example, like so we like set up a Raspberry Pi with pay and like a microphone like in the Solana office. So like if you go to the kitchen, like it has like a weekly allowance of like 100 USDC. Be like, oh, like can you buy like like cold brew from like Amazon? And like that's now how we're like restocking the kitchen, which is pretty fun. Yeah, I mean like there's a lot of frictions in like improving these kind of products. Like agents being able to call the correct tools is actually like a really tough problem to solve. And I think like as you get more user context of kind of like how they're using these services, that's like a good way. And then also the on-ramp, like I think someone mentioned this, right? Like Agent Cash gave out a bunch of free money, which like made it very easy for people to use. Like it's not super hard for people in crypto because like you might just have like a hot wallet with some stables that you can send. But like I think like when I think about it, I'm like, this is really exciting. This is I think one of the biggest opportunities in stablecoins outside of like cross-border remittances. And so like how do you solve for these user pain points? That's kind of coming now. But like it's very clear to get the value proposition, even if you like literally don't care about crypto, which I think should be the goal.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I went to this Agent Cash meetup and like most people I met there were not crypto people. It was mostly like e-commerce or like traditional like marketplace builders, right? So I think that's when my mindset kind of shifted that this isn't a crypto native thing. It's just crypto helps accelerate the payment rails. And it seems like that's our biggest value prop. So we should just stick to that and then build on top.
100%.
Sohail, do you have anything to add here? Else we can, yeah. Cool. Well, we can move to the next one then, Jules.
Yeah, I think I also agree. I almost feel like some AI companies are allergic to crypto companies, where they just feel like they don't fit or they don't want to be associated. And it's quite funny because we're kind of going on the way back. Yeah, I wanted to understand a little bit more on like, what do you think is the main thing this industry needs to ship out in the next 6 months for agents to feel more mainstream or safe? Would love to get everyone's opinion on that.
That'd be a hot take, but I think allowing people to pay for inference costs with the meme coins that they have would do quite well into getting people to use the crypto side of AI.
Yeah, that's a good one. Does anyone have anything else?
I mean, I would totally swap out my trash tokens, like the last meme coins from the last cycle that are under $10. That's a good idea. I feel like we should just vibe code that with our CLI, EBH.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think the biggest thing is like just expanding the universe of merchants and services that actually accept stables. Like, like Visa and MasterCard have like 100 million merchants each that you can essentially pay for anything using like one of their credit cards for. And yeah, I mean, there's increasingly more and more like just like normal services, non-crypto services that are accepting stables as a payment method. Like some interesting ones over the past like few weeks even have been like Search, which is like, a huge search engine, Parallel Web Systems, which is also like these are just totally just normal AI companies. But I think like they're identifying that, okay, like maybe there are people that are using like agents with wallets to pay for things with stables. How do we expose our endpoints to kind of serve these markets? So yeah, like you increase the number of like actual useful services, then I think you actually build more case studies that kind of like bring these products to life of like, examples of people doing useful things. And then that's kind of what carries for the next like.
Yeah. I really don't think we need to build much more. I think that's a crypto problem where people just want to build and build and build. I think we need to provide use cases and value to users. There's a lot of like backwards compatibility. Like if you hack things together with like Shopify, other PSPs, where like you can find merchants and you can have merchants accept orders and accept stables. Like matter of fact, we have this like Shopify plugin that turns stables into fiat, and merchants just accept or receive fiat when they pay with their stables. So I think like that's already done. There's nothing left to build but value to show, and I think that should be the focus of a lot of builders and companies, is to show the value that agents have for individuals day to day.
I think there is still a good amount of companies that have like not figured out what the agent version of their product is, right? I think it was Notion either yesterday or the day before that came out with their CLI product, and people were kind of surprised to see it. I don't think we should be surprised that like other companies that have been around for a while are going to be launching their own MCP and CLI products. I think we're going to have a good amount of companies that like the first time they're looking at crypto for maybe the first time in a while is not necessarily because of stablecoins and like the crypto ecosystem, but just because it's a way for them to like accurately monetize their existing product for this new agent user base. And it just so happens that the best way to do that is running off of like crypto and stablecoin rails. So I expect to see like a good chunk of those kind of legacy software businesses attempt to go down that path again.
100%. And I think to your point, I also have a hot take here, but I think like we've had an explosion in standards, right? Like we've seen X402 first, then machine payments protocol, and then pay.sh. I feel like I was talking to someone about this last week in Consensus, but I feel like more standards, the better, at least at this moment, because this is kind of another hook for a lot of teams to find out about agentic commerce. And I guess like maybe a question to you guys in MoonPay, like open wallet standard is definitely very unique in the sense that y'all are one of the first to like solve and unify like wallets, because a lot of the other standards were purely on the like the AI layer itself. And I feel like we just need more standards. Like there could be other standards that emerge on the custodial agentic wallet space in a way, like more competition the better. So I feel like I kind of wish we just see more innovation there in the next 6 months, and I expect that as well as more teams try to build their own versions of standards and unifying protocols.
Yeah, I'll take it on then. I'll be honest with you. It's like I've spent like 5 years in Solana now, and I've just seen the evolution of wallets over and over and over, from desktop, mobile to embedded, now to agent specific, and all of them fundamentally do the same exact thing, which is move money, hold funds, and keep them safe. So once again, I'm going to say this again on the call, but I building new standards is a net nothing. There's nothing that comes out of a standard that there's nothing with new standards that you can't do with what's already out in the market. So run with what's out in the market and build something useful. If you're not building anything useful and you're just building new standards, to be honest, we're all just sitting here, kind of twirling our hair here, and curling our hairs. Yeah, I think like OWS is great, and there's been a lot of traction and a lot of excitement around it. But why we launched the hackathon a couple weeks ago is we wanted to see what use cases came out of the hackathon. A lot of the teams are still building with OWS, and their ultimate goal isn't to say like, hey, this is like the standard. This standard is missing A, B, and C. So we need to go figure out how to find something that better suits us. What they're trying to do is like, hey, we actually want to build something that's useful and people are using day to day.
Yeah, I think that's a good reframe, for sure. And we ourselves launched our CLI in OWS, so it was like a great experience for us because we were able to like almost like, not maintain the base layer and the guardrails and the actual policy, and that was all kind of inbuilt into the standard. So I agree 100%. It does make things a lot easier. But I also expect, I think, just generally more standards to proliferate because, like you said, even if it's not a net positive, there are different teams out there that will try to build their own version instead of extending what's out there. So I think overall, we'll see kind of where that goes. But I feel like it's kind of the nature of a nascent space that people want to own the protocol layer rather than actually build something useful on top. So yeah, I do expect to see that still happen regardless.
Yeah, I'd love to know on Rish's side, like on the Solana, like what are you guys planning? Any alpha you can share with us? I know you just launched pay.sh, and yeah, we're super excited about it. Would love to understand a little more.
I mean, I think that our position is a little different from kind of like startups that are building products, where at the end of the day, like we're working to make Solana the network, kind of like the place where like two things happen. There's like the most amount of like GDP in terms of like TVL assets on the chain, and then velocity of actual like money spent. And in that, like we need to kind of like cover these like nascent applications and use cases. I think agentic payments is like really cool because like it's just reframing a new way that people are gonna ultimately consume things, and like agents being first-party consumers is also going to be a very interesting phenomenon to play out. From like a network level, though, it doesn't make Solana any money, and for that matter, it doesn't make any chain any money. And I think like it's encompassing. Like the only reason Solana cares about payments is because like it's an opportunity to get more stable coins and more volumes on the chain that I think downstream like hopefully should feed into asset ownership and trading, which is like where the network does make money. And so like in that role, like I think as we think about it from like a network perspective, like there are things that we're thinking about too. How do we make Solana just like the fastest, cheapest, most performant rail to do any sort of like agentic transfer? Like we purposefully haven't like made a claim to a given protocol when it comes to agentic payments. Like Solana is the only like notable network to my information that like supports both X402 and MPP. And like if there's any big like provider that also does another payment rail, like we'll have Solana support for that as well. Like we want to be agnostic towards this. And then we want to ultimately, yeah, to Tony's point is like none of this matters if like there aren't interesting products that are built on top of this that actually are like useful. Like how do we incentivize the ecosystem to kind of build these sort of things? And bring the imagination of doing this. And I think that's how I would position things like pay.sh and like other hackathons, like different like developer activation stuff that we're actively trying to do, because like to some extent it is a distribution game. And so like that's where we're trying to lean into what we can do there to make Solana like a ubiquitous network for these kind of use cases.
Yeah, I think everyone there is fighting to feed the agents slash builders that are actually going to build like strong use cases. Yeah, I wonder on maybe Polymarket side, like how are you guys thinking about what's next for you?
I'd say from our side, the position is a bit different because right now, most of our stack and everything is open to anybody to build. So most of the Polymarket, to be honest, all of them are open right now. So you don't need any sort of API keys, authentications, or anything from our side. So most of the endpoints are completely public. So you'll just go through and get all the auths, events, or any information that you need. As for placing or trading, you just need your wallet address. So I'd say it is at one of the most convenient way for even any agent to get started at right now. We are working on improving the experience of building on top of Polymarket. Right now, we have a bunch of APIs that are very divergent from each other, which are like Gamma, Data, Club. While they all do different functionalities, from a agent or a developer building on top of it, it's quite confusing on how you want to interact with each other. So the whole experience of building, we are working on revamping that one, and that's going to be the first step on working towards integration for the agents. And then we already have a CLI which already have a good usage, but I'd say for an agent to work with, I don't know, like any platform, it is just more than the tech stack. It needs the knowledge, the skill, and even understanding of what part of your tech stack is it. And we are working towards making sure that all the agents understand that one.
Yeah, I wonder also on the MoonPay side, like what's next for you guys?
Oh, I thought Halsey was in here, but yeah, I think there's three big things that we're focused on, with like an additional fourth. I think like number one is this desktop. So that's going to be a large push that we're going to be making here in the next couple of weeks. I think number two is Moon agent cards. So being able to give agents these virtual cards to spend on different initiatives, on different things that users want. Number three is like figuring out credentialing for agents with some of the SEAL Team 6 that we have here, focusing on AI. And then the bonus one is CLI. Those are like the four big things that we're really focused on. But overall, it's figuring out like A, how do we make agents useful day to day? And then B is how do we make them really easy to use?
I'd say we're also doing a lot of listening and collaborating, right? MoonPay's got a lot of users and a lot of existing clients and partners, right? So as we work closer with groups that we've worked with, for the past like 8 years, that were popular wallets, trading terminals, yield platforms, prediction markets, et cetera, right? They're all looking at, what is the version of their product that they want to offer to agents and then, downstream further to users. So a lot of building, right? Definitely going to continue working on kind of the hackathon and builder program front. A lot of this really cannot be done in a silo. So like expect to see a lot more collaborative stuff between, it's interesting for everyone we have on the call here, right? Like if you were to go into the Zerion app today, right, you would end up actually taking advantage of products that were tinkered on by everyone on the call here, right? And each week, everyone keeps tacking on something new that unlocks some other further, feature set and further use cases. So I think we're definitely going to try and do our best to highlight the exciting ones and use MoonPay's distribution to tell some of those interesting stories. But it's definitely very early.
Yeah, I like what you said. It's almost like we had money Legos back in the day, and now it's agent Legos. Like just the composability of everything we're building makes it a lot more powerful. And I think it's similar for us. We just launched our CLI today, and I announced it in Accelerate last week. And we still don't know what kind of use cases will emerge, but I think that's kind of the magic. Um, we are ourselves beta testing and dogfooding our products, just like all of you guys are. So yeah, I think the future is exciting in a way. For me, like being able to use this with my OpenClaw or Cloud Code right now is more of a gimmick, but I think it's gonna be the way we interface with crypto. So I guess like any hot takes on like maybe the future of UI within crypto, because I feel like someone just told that earlier, like all wallets, all products look the same. Like especially in the last few years, it's really just a different type of UI or design like embedded in the same like sandbox. But curious if there's any hot takes in like the future of interfacing in crypto as people use crypto products regularly.
Yeah.
I'm curious why you think it's just quickly, why do you think it's a gimmick?
It's a gimmick to, it's not a gimmick, but it's we're still early adopters and we're tinkerers. So I guess it's more so like any technology life cycle. We are using these, like we're spending our evenings and weekends, trying to improve our OpenClaw setup. So it is a gimmick in that sense. It's net experimental, but eventually it will become, something that, the early majority and then the laggards use, right? So yeah.
Let me respond to that, and then I'll push to you. I'm sorry, you keep unmuting and muting. I actually push back and say you're wrong. I think OpenClaw is a terrible product, and it was just the first one to catch fire. Teams like Poke.com are doing this very well, where you can now interface with an agent over iMessage, and figuring out how to get these different recipes that use these crypto related skills within Poke. I think bring crypto related skills or tools into something that can be adopted by the masses. I have a ton of friends who are just classic Marina bros or tech girls that kind of use Poke every single day. And so I would just push back. And I think OpenClaw is a bad product. There is different alternatives to it. It's just about how do we have enough valuable skills to integrate into those distribution points. Yeah, I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, all fair, all fair. I'd say on the crypto UI, where I see it moving, what were the popular user interfaces, that's not going to move to a headless experience, right? Where once you were kind of hitting pretty buttons, right? Now you're just going to be interacting with your agent and telling it what to do. And in the instances where you did actually want a pretty user interface, it's going to be one that is custom personalized to yourself, right? I like to think of it a little bit more instead of going to something like a polymarket.com main website, right? You would be using your own version of it in a stylized way of what you wanted to look at. But, classical user interfaces that we have gotten used to, definitely going away.
Maybe just to add a little bit on that one, because I really like what Halsey mentioned. It's basically not having a single interface for everyone, more of a generative UI. I think there has been a bunch of releases or maybe things coming from the Vercel as well on experimenting with generative UI. So this is something that could basically potentially have a very good use case here. So not everyone would want to look into the same thing. So let's say an AI agent or even another person, everybody wants to have their own look and feel. So yeah, I mean, this is what I have in my mind from the US perspective.
I think that there's maybe a more intermediate step between, like, I think when people think of agentic trading sometimes, or those kind of use cases, it's like, how does an agent just like, like profitably like return like execute like a delta neutral trading strategy with like 2 sharp. That's like not realistic. I think like Poke was actually a good example, like, because it's not a groundbreaking product, but it's like really good at like prompting and getting like social behavior and context out of users. In a similar way, I feel like one bet on like a consumer UX product in crypto I think is going to do well this year is some sort of like LLM integrated wallet that again like does this like idea generation of like assets to trade, markets to trade in like a natural organic way. Like you have like apps like Coinbase like pushing you notifications to like trade on like like March Madness that's going on. Nobody wants that. There's probably like a more natural way that somebody can be like, like, hey, these are trends that are happening in markets, like pulling in context from like world news, like that people maybe more holistically want to thematically trade. And I think like crypto assets and crypto markets are going to be like one of the first places where that happens. And so, yeah, that's something I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing, and I guess a prediction.
Rich,
Yeah.
thank you for the fantastic segue into Don, but I kid you not, you can do this today.
Yeah.
Using combo of Zerion, PaySH, and the Don CLI. We're starting to see it now too, right? It's one of the more popular things people are asking for in the CLI front is just like on-demand research.
Yeah.
But you can go take that and plug it into the strategy builder, which is just an LLM for Don, and like tell it what you want to do that day, and like where directionally you want to trade against like weather markets.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm catching up with like Neeraj next week, so like I'll talk to him more about it then. But I feel like with that, and like I know it's like a step back in how most people are doing product development. Like I think like maybe the like UX shouldn't be a CLI, right? Like in some sense, like even the agent cache guys are doing this. Like they're launching Poncho, which I think is a great idea. Like people want super simple interfaces. Like, yeah, I guess going back to Poke, people like Poke because it's in iMessage, right? Like even though everyone has a ChatGPT app and could do the same thing.
It's also sassy. It's a lot more sassy.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
Let me know when you guys launch the UX, because like I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
The desktop. It should be in the desktop app. Like you'll be able to play with it with the desktop app. I'll send you over how to download it.
That's
On the there's like 2 parts I think now that I'll address. Like I think number 1 is like the UI piece. When I think about LLMs and financial services, now I'm not novel in saying this. I think Vlad from Robinhood has said this, is like the ultimate goal of the LLM in financial services is to democratize the office, where now everyone has access to like a private banker or things that only ultra high net individuals would have. And how I imagine in 2 years, 3 years, 6 months, even something that's going to really catch fire is like, imagine a world where like you wake up, you receive a phone call. This phone call is from like your LLM generate, like 11 Labs voice, tells you like all of the context that you care about, the stocks that you care about, the tokens that you care about, the prediction markets that you care about. Gives you this like 2 to 3 minute summary. I'm like, hey, here's what's super interesting. Here's what I would do. Here's what other people are doing. Like, what do you think? You talk back to it. This LLM then takes the context that you've given it and decides whether or not to execute trades or what else to look for, when to notify you via text message. Like, hey, here's like what's going on with the Xi Jinping and Trump meeting right now. Like, here's kind of what might get affected. Gives you a call at the end of the day and then gives you a summary of the day. Like, I actually think that's going to be the UI that really takes off. Not because it's incredibly novel, but because this is something that has been incredibly inaccessible to millions of people around the world, only for high net worth individuals. And LLMs democratize that and allows anyone to do that. So that's what I think like the UI looks like in the future. I think the other piece is like, the MoonPay desktop app, I think for us is going to be a big push, and not saying figuring out what I just described, but like figuring out how to make agents very easy and very approachable, like Poke has.
Yeah, I think my hot take is most people don't trust themselves to make like good trades. They don't trust.
Most people don't trust themselves in general.
Exactly. So if you trust your agent to do a better job, then we'd be probably more willing to lose more, right? Or gain more. Cool. I think we are at time. Was wondering if anyone had any last remainder thoughts or call to actions or.
Yeah, I agree, Rich. Those CLIs are the wrong interface. Something a little bit more approachable is much more attractive. And yeah, super excited to be working with Zerion and some of these like AI agent initiatives. Figuring out how to make agents useful.
Yeah, I guess CTA is just like try things.
Yeah.
Now is a really exciting time to just real time test and iterate with what's going on. And you might just I mean, OpenClaw is a really shitty UX, but like it also was like acquired for a stupid amount of money for like something.
Yeah.
So it's a crazy time to be working in this space.
Also, sometimes the shittiest UX brings the most attention.
Yeah,
for sure.
It gets people excited.
Call to action from our side. Go give the Don CLI a spin. It's over on the MoonPay side. It's over on pay.sh. I think if not done already, Jules, it should be in the Zerion side shortly. But we'll definitely love some feedback. Go rip some strategies.
Oh yeah. Yeah, CTA from our side. Give all these CLIs a shot. I literally was reactivating my poke, just as we said, because last time it didn't let me sign up because it was too sassy. So nice to see that's opened up. But I feel like, yeah, the pace at which things are moving are just insane. So I feel like follow the people here. I think y'all are also reposting and posting a lot of relevant content. So to anyone else listening in the audience, yeah, I think this is a great group of people. If you want to brush up on what's happening in payments and agentic spaces right now. Thanks, Jules. Thanks, everyone.
The team at Poke is super awesome. Use Poke.
Thanks, guys.
Use MoonPay, use Solana.
100%. Thanks. Take care.